Greetings and welcome back to Ancient Artisans, where we're in this wonderful setting known as the Earth House, and we're here with Caroline from Pario Gallico, which is a historical food catering company. Caroline, can you tell us about some of these wonderful this spread that we've got in front of us?
Yes, certainly. Well, I would like to begin with what I call the blood bread. We call it black bread as well. Yes, there is real blood in it, but from pigs.
Okay, no sacrifices.
Not sacrifices. It's actually a real archaeological experiment. It's unfortunately not Iron Age, which is the food I present today. It's based on a Viking find made in Sweden, where a flatbread basically was found in a grave. And after analysis, it contains animal blood and a very strange type of yeast that you can find in ales, beers, or breweries, which makes sense for all the historical bread I will be making and made, even the sweet one that we might taste afterwards, is actually not using yeast, but using the ale balm, so the sediment at the bottom of the keg of ale when you brew, to raise your bread.
Okay, and what's the difference between the blood bread and these breads here then?
Well, that's a difference of rye flour or wheat flour, but essentially the interest is you don't have to kill an animal to make blood bread or black pudding if you want. You can just, like the Maasai tribe in Africa, or the Mongols, well, in Mongolia, and things like that, in different culture, puncture the neck of an animal, take a bit of blood, cauterize, and here they go. And I'm trying to present that seasonality is very important, and we are really at the end of winter, end of spring, so you can't kill your animals anymore, for they will give you milk or eggs, babies, and labor in the fields. So that's a good way of having iron and nutrients added to your diet without killing anything.
This bread, I'm going to be honest, appeals to me more. Tell us about this one.
This one is what you would maybe call a brioche type of bread. We call it an enriched bread. It's exactly the same as usual. Wheat flour, bit of water, pinch of salt, but you add butter and eggs, the new ones that you have, and fruits that you kept from the winter. Prunes, dried cherries, elderberries, and flax seeds, for example, to give a nutty taste. So very much like a brioche with a bit less butter, I have to say.
I'm going to try an ancient piece of bread here then. Hopefully not from the era 5,000 years old. Or
wow, no, I would be very lucky.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh. The fruits add that real sweetness to it as well, don't they? Which is beautiful. Mm.
Of course you will have honey, you're right. But if you don't have honey, just dried fruits are so sweet for ancient palates that it will really makes a big difference at the end of a meal.
Well, I've noticed that the children are really enjoying this one. And they do look appetising. I notice you've put Moorish on it. What does that contain? Biscuits?
Oh, yes. They are not crunchy biscuits. I think you will try one maybe if I may.
If you insist.
Oh, yeah, I really do. They are made out of broad beans that replace a Celtic bean that we really struggle to find nowadays in modern shops. So broad beans, wheat flour, flax seeds, I really do love them, and butter and honey. Basically, when you don't have a lot of grain left in your larder or your granary, you will use any kind of pulses and reduce them into flour or puree them to add to breads or porridges and things like that.
I mean, that's really lovely. That's quite savoury, actually. We're going nice with some cheese as well.
As well, and you notice that I have some cheese.
I do. But this is quite an interesting arrangement, really, because I think our ideas might be that the food would have been really bland, but here you're showing us that actually it's remarkably appetising.
Thank you. Yes, that's one of the ideas. That's really what I want to transmit to everyone. You don't have to have just the same boring gruel or porridge, and you hear that all the time through the reenacting world, or even for historians, archaeologists, and cooks as well. You can make something very simple but very tasty, and you have native herbs, if I may. For example, you have wild garlic, you have salt, so salt, white garlic, thyme, and sage, flax seeds, roasted barley malts, and if you think about mustard seeds, cumin, even coriander, you can have them.
Wow. Yeah, so they were importing this, were they?
Oh, they are native to Britain. But if you want to go to imports, oh, you can have black pepper from India through the Roman. So you can trade with Romans, and you do, and you go so much further. But I actually hate it. But I'm, well, posh enough to have a bit of glassware and olive oil.
Oh.
So as an Iron Age British person, that would be a sign of, well, contact with the Roman world, certainly, and a fair amount of wealth, I would have to say.
Oh, great. Well, this is just fascinating because I never knew that mustard seeds were in Britain at the time, which is great. So I've learned a lot from you today. Thank you so much, Caroline, and thank you for letting me eat all of your food.
Enjoy.
And thank you again for joining us, guys. We'll see you next week for another episode of Ancient Artisans.